Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Final Take. I am Nathan Hansen, and joining me tonight are Marty Kauffman and Jostun Pomplun. Guys, what are you going to be for Halloween?
I don't know yet. I've had people throw out suggestions of Pac-Man and Elf, with my shorter roommate being Santa Claus, but as of now, nothing.
That's a good one.
I don't have anything right now. Last year I went as Marty McFly and no one understood it, so...
Wow, that's sad.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'll be either. I got some papers to work on, so we'll see if Halloween's even celebrated in my dorm. Well, tonight we will cover the latest in pointer athletics, along with college football, NASCAR's chase for the Sprint Cup, Smash football, the World Series, and Week 7 in the NFL. We begin tonight with pointer football. The Pointers lost their third game in a row when they fell to 6th-ranked Whitewater 35-27. Cody Nirenberg came on in relief of Kyle Larson to throw for 332 yards with 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Matt Szynski had 8 catches for 196 yards, including an 86-yard touchdown catch. Logan Taylor and Jared Ponko also had touchdown receptions for the Pointers. The Pointers were down 21-0 before the long pass to Szynski and recovered an onside kick with a chance to tie the game in the end, but ultimately turned the ball over. What does it say about the fight in this Pointers team to come back?
Well, I think it says a lot, because when I was working stats for the game, me and my coworker, we're down 21-0. We go to the backup quarterback. We're thinking, oh boy, this could get ugly. We're not going to come back. But Nirenberg's played against Whitewater before. He did that last year. He's a senior. He's a captain. He's got the experience and the leadership. He came in and had one heck of a ball game with over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Like you said right away when he came in, his first 2 drives when he came in, it looked a little skittish, so I was a little worried.
I mean, he's right. I mean, it shows they don't have no quit. I mean, you're facing a ranked opponent. They didn't go down without a fight. They played all 60 minutes. They just fell short in the end.
Yeah, kind of like the rest of their games. They're usually right in it, but unfortunately in the end they couldn't do it.
Yeah, and for all 3 games against the ranked opponents, they've had many opportunities to score and win these games. Turnovers in the red zone. I mean, a couple times they stopped Whitewater, and then they get momentum on turnover, but they can't do anything with them themselves. And even on Whitewater's first possession, they fumble the ball in the first play, but we don't recover, and they go down and score. So just got to take care of those opportunities, and we could have won all those games.
We should have, I think, also. Well, the running game only mustered 62 yards on 36 carries in the game, when they came in averaging 192 yards a game on the ground. Do you think the running game for the Pointers would really help them?
Well, I think it definitely would have helped them, averaging 192 yards coming in. I mean, some of it was a little inflated by Finlandia, but sacks had a big part to do with it. They got sacked a number of times on the day. And being behind in the game, they were forced to throw the ball, so they never could really get that running game going.
Yeah, I don't see how you can get a running game going when you're down 21-0. That's part of football. So if they weren't down 21-0, I'm sure the running game would have got going a lot better. But they seem to throw the ball fine, especially in late, trying to come back. But a running game needs to work when you're not down 21-0.
Yeah, and I mean, I think their strengths really are the passing game, like we talked about. And they tried running the ball. They ran 36 times, like we talked about. There was just no holes for any of those guys to run through. And there was a lot more Dwan Wright that I noticed, and usually in the past there's a lot more Britton Vernon.
Yeah,
and I think that's the thing, too, is they haven't committed to one guy. It's almost like when you see a team that says a quarterback, you can't have, like, if you have 2, you have none. You can have 3 running backs, but you always need that number 1 guy to carry you. And they haven't had a number 1 guy in a couple of years. They've always had like a trio or a split backfield that they rely on different guys. They need one guy, I think, to step up and carry that running game.
And who knows how the turnout could have been differently if Larson didn't get hurt, which really threw the Pointers off, I think.
Absolutely. Well, the Pointers returned to the field this Saturday when they play lacrosse at Gerke Park with a 1 p.m. kickoff. Now moving on to Pointers volleyball. The Pointers volleyball team swept Oshkosh last week before taking the weekend off. However, in that game, the Pointers were unable to get Emma Brunkhorst back from injury. How much of an impact does she make on this team?
I think she makes a huge impact coming back from injury to this team. I mean, she's a senior. She's been an all-conference player in the past. They missed that. You've been saying all along they needed that person in the middle. She had a good number of, like, almost 8 blocks, I think, last week. She had a high number of blocks, had some kills. So just being an effective person in the middle has really helped this team.
She'll make a huge impact. She's this team's best player. She is their Aaron Rodgers, their J.J. Watt, their Tom Brady. She is their best player, and how she goes, they go, and she's really the force that drives this team. And they've kind of struggled with that lately with some losses. But she'll elevate this team up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the front line is really the most important part of the volleyball team, and with nobody on the front line, with no height on the front line like they have without Brunkhorst, it's really hard for them to get anything going offensively and defensively for sure. Well, on Friday, the Pointers host Stout on Parents' Night, and River Falls on Saturday for Senior Day. We will take a short commercial break, but when we return, we will discuss Wisconsin Badger football and NASCAR's chase for the Sprint Cup.
Be a part of something super Greek at UWSP. There are 9 chapters and colonies on campus: Phi Sigma Phi, Gamma Phi Delta, Theta Xi, Sigma Delta Rho, Sigma Tau Gamma, Delta Phi Epsilon, Tau Kappa Epsilon, Phi Mu Alpha Sinfonia, and Phi Omega. Greek life at UWSP is a great way to build your personal support system and resume. With Greek life at UWSP, you won't just be a member, but a happy friend to the chapters and colonies for life. See what opportunities Greek life could offer you.
Great opportunity to promote leadership, a great way to get connections, and also to build bonds between different Greeks.
You get the opportunity to grow yourself as a leader and as a person, both through your organization and connections through Inter-Greek Council and other avenues like that.
Greek life isn't what you see in the movies. I recommend checking out one of the recruitment events for the organizations and just seeing maybe you belong there.
Don't have a television? Don't worry. SPTV is available on demand at uwsp.edu/SPTV. Find your favorite shows on our website, plus links to all of our YouTube content. Stay up to date with SPTV news that includes information about campus and community happenings. And don't forget to like us on Facebook. We're SPTV-UWSP Television. SPTV. Let's make media together.
Welcome back. The Wisconsin Badgers stayed in contention for the Big Ten West title with a 24-13 win at Illinois. Quarterback Joel Stave left the game with concussion early and was replaced by Bart Houston, who threw for 232 yards with 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Receiver Alex Erickson led the Badgers with 81 rushing yards, as well as 96 yards receiving and a touchdown. Guys, do we have a quarterback controversy on our hands?
No, I don't think we do. Bart Houston, he's been there a while, but Joel Stave's been there a little bit longer. He was a senior. He's been playing well this year, besides the Iowa game where he was absolutely terrible. He's been doing the best I've seen him. I know I've clamored for Bart Houston in the past, but this is Stave's best year by far. And he's doing this without a better Wisconsin offensive line or even a good Wisconsin running game. So, no, I don't think there's a quarterback controversy. Plus, today he was cleared for practice and will probably get his spot back. So,
well, like you said, Stave was looking the best he ever has. I think that's true, but I don't think it's good enough. Marty, what do you
Paul
think?
Chris came out today saying Stave's the guy, so there is no controversy there. I don't think there is one, unless Stave was out for a significant amount of time and Houston was playing and Stave came back. But Bart Houston's not a young guy either. Bart Houston's been around for, it seems like 4 years already, but there's no controversy here, I don't think, unless Stave just falls off a little bit with his play. This is Stave's team. There's no controversy at all.
Well, I clamored last week. I said put in Bart Houston, give that man a shot, and look what happens. They put him in, and he plays well.
But at least we know Bart Houston, we can rely on him next year when Stave graduates.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate Stave went down with an injury. That way he was replaced, but I wish he would have been replaced just with Bart Houston out playing him. But Bart Houston played well, then I think that's who they should go with to continue on in the future. Well, the Badgers return home to Camp Randall, where they play host to Rutgers, with kickoff scheduled for 11 a.m. Now for a Motorsports Minute. The chase for the Sprint Cup cut the field to 8 drivers after a wild and controversial finish at Talladega. Joey Logano picked up the win to sweep the contender round of the chase, but now without some drama. After NASCAR said they would limit the number of green and white checkered flags to 1, they ended up with 2 to finish the race. But on the second restart, Kevin Harvick spun out Trevor Bayne, bringing out the caution to end the race. Harvick was having motor issues at this time. Do you think he caused the wreck on purpose?
I believe he did, because I like the old 3. They used to have 3 green-white checkers for these races. But at Talladega, they moved it because at the last 2 restrictor plate tracks, Talladega, Daytona, there's been a wreck at the end with someone flying into the fence and people getting hurt. So they switch it to 1. So then they go out and they have the first restart. Jimmy Johnson and them wreck before they ever get to the start-finish line. So they said there was no restart, which I was glad because I did not want the race to end that way. So then they restarted again, and Kevin Harvick, he knows he's having motor problems. The first time, he got up out of the way, up against the wall, got out of the way. Second time, he holds his lane, starts to get past, deliberately drives to the right and takes out Trevor Bayne. The race ends because everyone's wrecking. They had to throw the caution, but yes, he did it on purpose. 3 drivers called him out. Matt Kenseth, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Newman, a bunch of others. If he doesn't spin someone out, Harvick misses the chase, finishes 30th. He ends up spinning the guy out, makes the chase.
I don't think he did it on purpose at all. I think he was racing a clean race there, doing anything he can to win. And if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So I don't think he did it on purpose at all.
I think it was a bit of a situation, kind of like in the NFL that we've seen, where guys just kind of fake injuries and lay down and stop the clock. I think it was kind of that situation. I mean, he knew he was having problems, so kind of made it look like, well, hey, I didn't do this on purpose, but I think he did.
Yeah, well, NASCAR came out today and said there were no penalties issued for it. They couldn't find anything on video, but I can't agree with them.
See, he didn't do it on purpose. The guy's a clean, safe driver.
We'll see. Well, the eliminator round begins Sunday at Martinsville with a 12:15 green flag. We'll be right back, and when we return, we discuss Smash Football, the World Series, and the NFL.
Got an itch to be on air? Join the SBTV News crew. Being an on- and off-air reporter will help you gain experience in interviewing, shooting and editing video, and reporting behind the anchor desk. Join SPTV News, pointing to you. Busy student life? No problem. You can catch Final Take on the go in HD by following us on our website. Final Take, for anything pointers, anything sports.
My name is Jackie Lang. I graduated from UW Stevens Point in 2013. I started off coming to general members meetings, showing up for the shows. From the first show that I was a part of, I just absolutely loved it. Now that I've graduated, I currently work at WFRV TV, which is Channel 5, the CBS affiliate in Green Bay. I also freelance for Lashbro Visual Communications. All of my experience, all of my knowledge came from SPTV, and I will forever be grateful to this organization for that.
Welcome back. The Smash football team defeated DC Everest 24-13 in Level 1 of the WIAA playoffs. For Level 2, they traveled to top-ranked Kimberly. Can they pull off this upset?
I don't think they can. I think they can make it a close game. I mean, they went 7-2 themselves. They almost beat Fond du Lac, who's in the top 5 of Division I. And they've blown out all the other weaker teams they've played. They got a chance. They're going to keep it close, I think. But Kimberly, undefeated. They've won state a bunch of times the past couple of years, defending state champion. I don't think they're going to go to Kimberly and beat them.
So you're saying there's a chance, huh?
There's a chance. I think they can keep, like I said, they keep it close. They got that Gus Turner-Zick running back. You did a package on him, so I don't know how they looked in practice, but I think they got a chance, but I don't think they're going to do it.
Anybody can beat anybody on any given day. Not going to happen this week, I don't think. Kimberly's just too much of a powerhouse, and it's only the second round of the playoffs. I think Kimberly cruises by Spash.
And Kimberly has their own running back in Blair Mulholland, who went over, I think, 200 yards easily in the first half last week, and they're easy wins. So,
well, I'll tell you what, that Spash game the score was not indicative of how that game played. The Spash really dominated them, but the rain kind of hurt them. That really kind of eliminated what they were trying to do through the air a little bit, so they had to run the ball a little more, and then they got a little predictable. But I think Gus Turner-Zick, for the running back for the Panthers, he really knows what to do. He looks He's a pretty big guy. I think they can pull off the upset against Kimberly. I mean, Marty, you said it, anything's possible, and I think you go to Kimberly, you knock off this team, and we'll see where they go after that. Well, kickoff for that game is scheduled for 7 o'clock Friday night. The World Series begins tonight with Kansas City Royals host the New York Mets. On the mound for the Royals will be Edison Volquez, while the Mets will counter with the Dark Knight, Matt Harvey. What is the key to winning this series?
I think it's got to be pitching, because the Royals, I think they led the league in batting average at like 284, struck out the least. And the Mets, once they couldn't hit the ball all season, but then once they acquired Cespedes, they became one of the best offensive teams in the league. So we know each team can hit, and the Mets, they've got obviously all the young pitching talent they've got. So I think it's going to be pitching, because the Royals, Johnny Cueto, they acquired him for pitching, but he hasn't been all that great this year. So I definitely think pitching, it's going to come down to that.
I hate to agree with you, but postseason baseball comes down to which team can pitch. I mean, lineups can be hot one day, they can go cold another. The pitching has to be consistent, and that's what both these teams been known for. The Royals had better, I think they had better pitching last year, but they're back in the World Series. The Mets, I think, have the better starting rotation coming into this series, especially with those 4 guys. And I think Syndergaard and DeGrom might be their 1 and 2, and Harvey's the 3, depending on how he pitches. But the Mets are loaded with pitching. The Royals have some. It's going to come down to the pitching, though, especially with the bullpens as well. Each team has the Mets closer, Familia.
Yeah.
He's been lights out this postseason. Wade Davis for the Royals, he's been lights out. It comes down to pitching to win a World Series championship.
Yeah, the Royals' pitching has been up and down throughout the year and the postseason. But I think the key to winning this lineup is holding down that Mets offense. I mean, Daniel Murphy, somebody's got to figure out a way to stop him. He's on fire right now.
I mean, you guys talk about that Mets offense. The Royals' offense is just as potent. They just don't do it with home runs. They'll hit 4 singles and they'll not get a run, or they'll get doubles. This team. This is a scary team. So don't count out that lineup. This lineup is pretty good from top to bottom.
And they got guys that can steal bases in Escobar and Lorenzo Cain. So, and now the Royals are going to be more aggressive, because last year they didn't send the guy from
He would
third
have
to
been thrown
home.
out by a mile.
But now, and then he got the Clintonville Jersley as the third base coach, and they've been more aggressive in the playoffs. So
And it showed on that winning
hometown guy in the Royals. So
And his son's the baseball coach here.
yeah.
Well, I mean, you talked about the pitching rotation. I think it's more the back-end pitching rotation, because when the Royals have scored the runs, most of it's come late in the game. The 7th inning primarily, all of a sudden they're doing nothing in the first 6 innings, then they strike with 5 singles in a row, score some runs. I think the back end of the pitching for the Mets is going to be really key, more so than their starters, because we know what their starters offer. I mean, we talked about DeGrom, Syndergaard, those guys with the flow, with the hair, they can get it done, and Matt Harvey especially. Who do you guys have winning it all?
I have the Mets. It might go 6. It might even go 7. I think it's going to be a very balanced series. Obviously, we know both teams got the offense, but definitely going to come down to pitching. And I got the Mets due to their better starting rotation, plus Familia, one of the best closers in the league.
I'm going with the Royals. They're the team right now. This whole postseason, they're the team. They're not out until it's the final out, and it's Mets win their 4th game. This team has no quit in them. I think they're the team that comes in, they win it. Last year, they were glad to be there. This year, they're here to win it, and I think the Royals do that. They have a lineup that I think can hit the Mets pitching. They also have the pitching to hold the Mets down, especially in the back end of that bullpen.
I think the Mets take in 6, although it's going to be a really close series. Now for rapid fire on the NFL, where we will briefly recap some of the top NFL games from this weekend. On Thursday night, the Seahawks handled the 49ers 20-3. What did you guys see?
Well, the Seahawks defense, they're good against bad teams. Obviously, they shut out the Bears at home. They played San Francisco, which their offense has been terrible this year. Kaepernick's not the same. Now he's on an island in the locker room. They're able to do it against the bad offenses, but they can't do it against the good teams. But I think Seattle, they got an easy game this week too. So they're somewhat back on track, but they're not there yet.
Marshawn Lynch looks to be healthy now again. He ran the ball a lot. But that offensive line, though, Russell Wilson is getting crushed back there. He's getting sacked a lot more. He has no chance of moving around in the pocket. He was sacked a lot in that game. I remember watching that he was on the ground a lot. So they got to fix that if they want to succeed.
Yeah, I'm not really buying the Seahawks yet. I mean, you talked about they only win against bad teams. But I think the 49ers, I like to call him Colin Sackerpick, because that's really what he's doing right now. You talked about he's on an island. I think Blaine Gabbert starts at the end of the season. He'll start a few games. Well, the Vikings took down the Lions 28-19 to Jostun's happiness over here.
Yeah, they started off really slow. I thought they were really missing Sharif Floyd, who's out with an injured ankle. But after the first quarter, the defense really picked up the slack. Zimmer must have really got into him like he always does if he's not happy. They started blitzing a lot more, sacked Stafford 7 times on the day. Although Adrian Peterson had 75 of his 98 yards on one long carry in the third quarter, Teddy Bridgewater had his best game of the year and most balanced offensive performance they've had yet.
I'm not sold on Minnesota yet. They may be 4-2, but I'm not sold on this team the way they played. They're struggling to put teams away. They're in a lot of close games this year. Teddy Bridgewater can make a good throw, and then he'll make a questionable throw, or they can be picked off. But I think their defense is young. They're coming around, but this team, I'm not sold on them yet.
They definitely have issues on the offensive line now. I just heard Sullivan might end up being out for the entire year. Plus, they do have to do better in the red zone. Only 1 of 4 on touchdowns. Although they did get field goals, they need touchdowns.
They're very inconsistent. Like, Adrian Peterson did not have a good game until he ripped off that big run late in the game. And I think the Lions, man, that's a tough situation down there. They fired their offensive coordinator and their offensive line coach, Joe Lombardi, and then their offensive line coach. And their offensive line just looks horrible. I mean, I don't know what to think about that. And I mean, they have no running game either, so they're really hurting.
I think we're going to see a cleaning of house in Detroit this offseason. I think GM Mayhew, I think he's gone. Caldwell is going to be gone, no doubt. I don't think he's a good NFL head coach. He's more of a coordinator kind of guy. He just doesn't do it in a head coaching spot.
Yeah, I think they started that sale this week, and it'll continue. Well, the Redskins came back to beat the Buccaneers 31-30, and I got a question for you guys. Do you like that?
No, I don't, because you shouldn't have to come back from 24 down to beat the Buccaneers. I think they got a little lucky there, but Tampa Bay should have won that game.
I mean, Kirk Cousins, he did that. I mean, where's RG3? I mean, seriously, what's he been doing? I mean, that's pretty much all I care about the Redskins is that they're kind of in it still in the NFC East, but what do you think they have? They have RG3. I mean, he's got to be healthy, but they just don't trust him in this offense, I guess. I think if they maybe have him in there, maybe they have a win or two more because Kirk Cousins can lose you a lot of games more than win you games, and he won a game this week, but he could easily have lost that game. Chris Conner should have had a pick in the end zone right before that touchdown. I mean, that was right to him. So Kirk Cousins may like that right now, but this team isn't very good.
Well, the only one that really likes Kirk Cousins, I think, is Jay Gruden. He's almost fallen in love with him, I think, for some reason back there, throwing the ball around. And I think RG3 should be the answer, but I'm not sure. Well, the Patriots defeated the Jets 30-23.
Well, the Patriots didn't run the ball. Tom Brady was the leading rusher, but they countered that by throwing the ball a lot, and they snuck out a W. But the Jets are for real.
Brandon Marshall dropped a key touchdown in the end zone that I think would have either tied the game or given them a lead a little bit, so that was big. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, he somehow's got this Jets winning. I don't have faith in Ryan Fitzpatrick leading a team, but the Jets seem to be for real right now. They look to be a wild card team. New England has the AFC right now. I mean, they're winning games again. I mean, they're handily beating teams too. I think the Jets were probably the first team to give them kind of a run for their money this season, but Patriots are for real again.
Yeah, I think the Patriots are the best team in the NFL overall. And I think the Jets are a quarterback away from being a good team, like you talked about. Can't trust Ryan Fitzpatrick. Well, the Giants knocked off the Cowboys 27-20.
Yeah, if the Cowboys don't get Dez and Romo back, they're dropping out behind the Giants and possibly the Eagles, or they're done if they don't get them back soon.
That castle looked awful.
I'll tell you what, the Giants have lost some games. The games they've lost this year, they should easily be running away with this division right now, and they have not. They are keeping their opponents in their rivals in the division race, but right now, if I had to pick a team to win the division, it'd be the Giants, but they are just this close from just pulling away, and they haven't, and they're letting Philadelphia and Dallas creep in on them still.
Yeah, the NFC East is wide open. Well, the Panthers beat the Eagles 27-16 on Sunday night to stay undefeated.
Well, I guess the defense is all right because Cam Newton threw 3 interceptions in the game, and they still pulled out the W.
Yeah?
They're 6-0?
Yeah.
It's unexplainable how they're 6-0 right now. I think just because their offense, I mean, they're running offense, but Cam Newton somehow keeps throwing touchdown passes, and it boggles my mind that this offense has got this team 6-0. I think it's more defense, but they'll probably beat Indianapolis. I think they will because Indy's just struggling unless it's a shootout, and I don't think Carolina can keep up with that. But that defense, I think, will neutralize Andrew Luck. I think we're looking at Green Bay going into Carolina as kind of a balanced team where their defense has stepped up this year, and the running game, they can beat them both ways, passing and running. I think Carolina's first test will be Green Bay next week.
Yeah, I think the Panthers should write a handwritten note to whoever scheduled these games to thank them for the schedule they've had so far. I mean, this is a cakewalk in them for all their games. They finally showed they had a running game. You talked about their defense was finally good, finally stepped up to the plate and played well. And Cam Newton, 3 interceptions, under 200 yards. He kind of struggled, but the defense pulled it out for him. Well, the Raiders held off the Chargers 37-29.
Yeah, the Raiders are up 30 in this game. Amari Cooper's the real deal. Derek Carr's pretty good too, but they shouldn't have let San Diego back into this one.
Bad luck. Chargers are just falling out of it now. You think the Chargers be better than what their record is, but you lose they've lost some games this year where they just fell out of it at the end. But Oakland's coming around. They're going to be a team on the rise in the next couple of years, I think. They got a nice little trio of Carr, Cooper, and Murray.
I mean, Rivers is coming off 500 yards. You'd think he'd be hot, but he struggled. And the Dolphins routed the Texans 44-26.
Man, what a great decision it was to fire Joe Philbin and put Dan Campbell as the interim head coach. I mean, he's turned them from some little finesse team to some hard-nosed, grinded-out football team. Ryan Tannehill was absolutely amazing this weekend. 4 touchdowns, 200-some yards, only 1 incompletion. Lamar Miller had a heck of a game too, and the defense is playing better.
Texans, you may score 26 points, but we all know how that game really went. And losing Arian Foster and a torn Achilles, you're down that many points and you have him in the game still. That's bad. J.J. Watt, he got banged up a little bit apparently, but he stayed in the game. You got to at least think a little bit of just like pulling your guys back. And then Ryan Mallett missing his flight to Miami, got cut today. So, I mean, Houston's a mess right now. I mean, there's just nothing going for them, which everyone thought they were, a 9-7 team last year? Yeah, they're a mess.
Jadeveon Clowney might be a bust.
Yeah.
Well, he got hurt. I don't know what his deal is right now. He hasn't really – I haven't heard of Clowney at all. But Houston, in that AFC South division, they should have a chance of getting there, of winning that division, and they just fell out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best thing for Texans right now is to hope that they get the number 1 pick and land a quarterback for that team.
But I don't think there's a quarterback right now, at least, that they would take number 1. They would probably trade down for it. But they need a quarterback. But this team is just awful.
Absolutely.
But like you're right, the Dolphins too. That Campbell, is it Dan?
Yep.
Campbell?
Yeah.
Yep. He's got this team believing, and they might have a chance now in the AFC.
Yeah. Well, the Packers play the Broncos this upcoming week in a battle of 6-0 teams. How do you think this one will turn out?
It's going to be a test. The Broncos have the best defense in all the NFL. Aaron Rodgers, they haven't been playing that great the past couple of weeks, but we all know their potential. They had a bye week for a chance for them to get all healthy and all that. So it'll be a good test to see one of the league's better offenses go against the league's best defense.
I think it also depends on how the Packers defense handles the Broncos offense. What do we see? Are we going to see Peyton Manning get some yards on these guys? Can they shut down Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas? Or are the Broncos going to run the ball? And then is Eddie Lacy healthy and Devontae Adams? I think the Packers also too get Morgan Burnett back. He's been practicing. That'll help their secondary a lot, boosting that so you can play Micah Hyde all around still. This team, it'll be a close game, I think, but I think the Packers are going to pull it out. I think they have a little bit more offensive firepower that the Broncos probably can't handle.
Well, yeah, Devontae Adams is coming back for the Packers too as well, so that'll really help, especially with Ty Montgomery probably being out. But, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I think the best part of that game will be the Packers' offense going against the Broncos' defense. I mean, the Packers also, their defense is good as well. They boast the best points per game against them defensively, so they're the best in that category. I think it'll be a real struggle for the Broncos offensively because Peyton Manning, I mean, we've seen it, guys. He's not the Peyton Manning we've seen before.
And that Packers secondary has a bunch of ball hawks.
And they're quick, too.
They're quick, so I think if they drop some picks against Phillip Rivers, I think if they have some chances. They'll succeed on picking off Peyton Manning a little bit.
Yeah.
I got to say it's probably going to be a low-scoring game, being it's in Denver. Denver's got the advantage on defense. And we saw how the great defense beat the great Denver offense in the Seattle Super Bowl win. So defense wins championships and all that stuff, but I think the defense of Denver will prevail in this one.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have time for today. We thank everyone for tuning in with us today. I'd like to thank Marty Kauffman and Jostun Pomplun for joining me today with their insightful opinions on the debate desk. And a big thanks to our technical staff and all their hard work to make this happen. Be sure to check us out on Facebook at SPTV UWSP Television or follow us on Twitter at SPTV_UWSP. Also visit the UWSP homepage to locate all your Pointer Athletics information. And just remember, fellow Pointers, here at Final Take, anything Pointers, anything sports.